there is so much that we need to talk about, and I want to make the point to people. I'm going to be really honest, always have tried to be. It is a legal minefield, and I think it's very important that we go through every point, you and I together, to give people an idea to make their own minds up. Now, we do not know that the two people in the book that Piers alluded to last night, the Dutch version, are indeed the two people that Meghan originally implied about.
Meghan implied that there was only one person. So there's our first hiccup right there when it comes to how inconsistent this story has become.
It's interesting because she implied that with Oprah Winfrey, and yet when Spare came out, Harry backtracked. It was never mentioned. If it was such a big thing, why didn't he take that forward?
Not just that, but when he sat down with Bradby, said, no, we never said that. The media created that narrative. He said specifically, did Meghan say that? No, the media created that narrative, as if he was trying to distance himself so far by saying that the conversation never happened whatsoever. That Oprah interview was the most damaging thing to happen to the British royal family since the death of Princess Diana. You cannot take it back.
And that's the point, and that's why I completely get and support what Piers did last night, because speculation is damaging. I don't believe anything racist was said. I will do if it's proven, and I will not until it's proven to me. And that's the issue. Let's talk in more detail. Scobie, who I have to keep my opinions to one side, originally years ago says, I'm the voice piece for Harry and Meghan. Writes Endgame, Kins, and says, I didn't interview them for this. Writes an English version which doesn't intimate these names. Suddenly from nowhere, in a Dutch version, those names are there. That apparently, and I read this, the publishers have said was an error. That has since been pulped, but of course, it's out there. How the hell did it end up in a Dutch version? I don't understand that. That's one of my big issues, if I'm honest.
Well, I'd say that the publisher probably looked at this book, that has been postponed, mind you. Remember, this had an earlier release date. The publisher likely looked at this book as one of the biggest books of the year. That is an incredibly expensive mistake, Jeremy. That is an incredibly expensive mistake. So, I have a hard time believing that this was a highly anticipated book that had been pushed back, that we've invested so much promotion in, and that then they would allow an error like this to occur. So if that's their story and they're sticking to it, we'll accept it for now and patiently wait to see how this all evolves.
I think I want to repeat almost all morning, and people have been running around since early doors. If you're just tuning in, Piers Morgan last night on Piers Morgan Uncensored decided, I think quite rightly, in terms of speculation and the United Kingdom and people's rights, and certainly because it was out there in the Dutch sort of media and then it was pulped, then it was online, to name King Charles and Catherine. But I have to repeat, and I want to say this to you, there is absolutely no evidence that they have ever said anything offensive or been involved in anything, a racially offensive conversation. This is speculation. And my point is, you're a royalist like me. Where does this leave the royal family? Do you think, we both know royal protocol says, keep calm and carry on, don't open your mouth. Do you think there'll come a point, Kins, where, because of speculation, they need to come out, or do you think it will be a case of this doesn't warrant our attention?
Well, let me just say that I agree with you with it when it comes to Piers. Piers is the perfect person to have this conversation. Yeah. Not only has Piers said from day one that he didn't believe these allegations, but Piers is blatantly lied about within the pages of Endgame.
You are so right. Can I just say this? I said this yesterday and everybody looked at me like I'd landed from Mars. The other night, he went on the show and he said, I'll tell you exactly why Omid Scobie's a liar. He says in his book, on 4 occasions, he mentions me. And the biggest one was that after Piers left ITV, we know the story, because he called Meghan Markle a liar. Oh, there you go. And apparently is called a racist. There you go. He walks away from ITV. According to Omid Scobie, for people waking up, Piers Morgan took a call that night from Queen Camilla. That didn't happen. Now, if Omid
No.
Scobie, if you base from our point of view what Piers Morgan has said, because he would have known if he got a phone call, then how the hell are you supposed to believe much more within these pages? Least of all, my issue is I've got this terrible thing in my head, Kins, that this Dutch thing is a... Well, maybe I'll get into trouble for saying this. There is an argument that says that this is a fantastic piece of marketing.
I mean, it's going to go down in history. There's no way that you can deny that. But when it comes to a reaction from the royal family, I'll admit, in the States, I went on television and defended Harry and Meghan after that Oprah interview. I thought the accusations were appalling.
Yep.
But we've seen this evolution from Harry and Meghan of the 2-3 hour car chase in New York. They tend to exaggerate some of their claims. And I do think that the American public and hopefully globally have got a sense, are catching up to these two and are a little bit more cynical when it comes to their accusations and are smarter than we were a few years ago. And so I would have said, yes, the royal family needs to address it several years ago. Today, I wish that they would address it by removing their titles, by truly distancing themselves from two very destructive individuals. Harry and Meghan, everything they touch is it seems very toxic in my opinion.
And I think
look at
think
Spotify,
why you're so
look at Netflix.
I think why you're so right, Kins, and why a lot of people and tell me, by the way, as I've said all morning, talk today at talk.tv, text to 87222, start your message with the word talk. Are Kinsey and I wrong? Here's what I think. I think that if you... Look, I've repeated it. I bore myself. I really like you supported them when they walked away from the royal family, away from that goldfish bowl. He obviously thought about what had happened to his mother. You were a great fan of Diana, as I was. She was flawed, yes, but there was a lot that went on. You walk away and you say, I want to bring my family up in California. I'm not really interested in this bubble. You land in America, you sell your soul for 115 million quid to Spotify, and you spend your entire time in the ensuing years making money on slagging off the very thing you don't want to be part of. Now, when that gets picked to bits, which it has done on the occasions you've talked about, people will cynically go, yeah, you're behind this book. Yeah, we don't believe you. And when we can put fact in front of people, Piers Morgan, it's a fact, never got a call from Queen Camilla. Because trust me, I know this about Piers Morgan. If he had got a call from Queen Camilla, he'd have been telling everybody he got a call from Queen Camilla. We all know Piers like that, right? He'll probably text me in a minute. I believe him absolutely about that, right? So that then says to people, what are we supposed to believe? It's like, to me, they've made their bed. That's how I see it.
And, I looked at this from an LA perspective. Harry and Meghan have had a horrible year professionally. They lost their Spotify job. People, in the American media turned on them after that New York City story. And I feel like they are really struggling. Meghan signed with a new agency in April. JK, she's had no ideas or, there have been no announcements about anything that she's doing officially. She's had no opportunities from this new agency. So I think that the Sussexes are struggling. And if this was in any way, shape or form motivated by an attempt to thrust themselves back out there and, garner a new audience, I feel like it backfired. I think that this has been poorly executed. And, I don't know what happened. Omid Scobie says he never wrote these words. How these words ended up in a translated book.
I mean, again, Kins,
I don't know.
Anybody waking up this morning, he doesn't know how two names appeared in a Dutch version of a book that he wrote. Let's just say it's a publishing error in one country. Cynical Kyle, but I believe what I'm saying. How did they get there in the first place? I just
want to say, if it were me and those were the incorrect names, I would be pitching a fit on every station right now because it would jeopardize my credibility.
Absolutely. Now, can you do me a favour? What time is it in LA?
It's time for me to hang out with you all day.
Yeah, no bed tonight. I'll be back to you in the next hour. Keep your ear to the ground. We will continue this. Kinsey, for now, thank you. And can I repeat what I said? What do you make of these bombshell announcements? Last night on Piers Morgan, he decided, we say, and I say quite rightly, because of speculation to the royal family, to name King Charles and Catherine, Princess of Wales, as the two people implicated in the Dutch version of Scobie's book about racist comments to do with Harry and Meghan's baby. We are in no way at all implying that that's the case. There's no evidence. It's speculation.